In 5 years, the senior housing shortage is expected to be roughly 370,000 units short by 2030. And the wait lists, they're already forming in a lot of markets. And at the same time, carrying costs on paid off homes, taxes, insurance, and maintenance keep climbing. And the house that was supposed to be your safety net can start to feel like a trap. Now, this video is not about telling you to downsize or rent. It's about helping you figure out whether staying put, downsizing, borrowing against your house, or using tax relief programs actually makes sense for your numbers and your timeline. We are going to look at the break-even math, the timing mistakes that force people into crisis moves, and the tools many homeowners use in the wrong order. Now, by the end, you'll know whether your current plan is keeping you safe, quietly draining you, or putting you on the path where the house makes the decision for you. So let's get into this. Here's the situation. You own a $500,000 home, free and clear. You see smaller homes listed around the area for about $350,000 and think I'll pocket $150,000 and lower my costs. On the surface, that feels obvious. The common mistake is ignoring the transaction costs. Now, here's what selling actually looks like using the typical example from my market here in Illinois. Even if you're not in Illinois, the structure is the same. Your numbers will just look a little different. On a $500,000 sale, using the examples of a real estate commission around 5%, is $25,000. Closing costs and transfer expenses can add another $6,000 or so. Property taxes often require settlement at closing and at around 2% rate. That can easily be about $10,000. After that, you still have prep, staging, moving costs, typical costs that come with buying the next place. So when I account for all of that together, the total transaction costs to change homes in this example comes out to be about $48,600. These are illustration numbers only for my markets. Use this framework and then plug in your numbers. They could be very different. That $150,000 you thought you were pocketing just became smaller fast. And that's actually before you confirm whether your monthly costs actually go down. And don't worry about memorizing any of these numbers. I've built a simple calculator you can use that does this math for you. So here's the smarter move. Use a simple break-even formula to determine this. Transaction costs divided by the annual savings equals the number of years it takes to break even. Now let me walk you through a common example. You downsize from a $500,000 home to a $350,000 condo. So your annual savings might look like this. Property taxes drop by $3,000. Insurance drops by $1,400. Maintenance drops by roughly $4,000 because you are no longer carrying a yard, roof, and large mechanical systems. And utilities, they'll drop by about $1,200. Now, because you're moving into an HOA, you add $3,000 back to this. That is roughly $6,000 per year in savings. That's just the cost to exit. To see if the move actually pays off, we have to look at the full cost of changing homes. Now take the transaction cost for both selling your home and buying the new one using $48,650 and divide that by $6,600. That gives you a break-even point of about 7.4 years. Before that point, you are still paying off the cost of the move. After that point, you're actually ahead. Now here's the catch. If you decide to put a mortgage on the new home at today's high rates, your new payment can jump high enough that the break-even timeline stretches out or even completely disappears. In some cases, the numbers never actually put you ahead. For some people, a 7 to 8 year break-even point fits their timeline. For others, it does not. The purpose here is to see it before you put the house on the market. So let's assume the math works. The next mistake most people make has nothing to do with money. It has to do with timing. So here's the situation. You are 62. You're healthy. You're still able to manage the home. You're thinking, I'll downsize when I need to, maybe 10 years. Costs are high, but nothing feels urgent yet. The common mistake, waiting until the crisis forces the decision. Most downsizes happen between about 70 and 75 or later. They are usually triggered by a health event, the loss of a spouse, or a major repair the owner cannot afford. Those emergency moves almost always sell for less than planned moves because you are reacting under pressure instead of choosing your own terms. On top of that, the senior housing shortage I mentioned earlier is real. By around 2030, the US is projected to be hundreds of thousands of units short, and wait lists are already forming in many markets. Now, if you wait until you have to move, there are fewer options, more competition for the same limited inventory. The smart move: downsize between about 60 and 65 while you're still healthy and mobile. This gives you time and control. You can handle the physical and emotional stress of a move, research locations, and even test an area by renting before you commit. Now, most importantly, you're making a choice instead of reacting to a crisis. Not downsizing soon enough shows up again and again as the top regret for boomers. If you're 62 and thinking, I'll wait until I really need to, you're likely adding 5 to 10 extra years of carrying costs and quietly shrinking your future options. Now, if you're already in your 70s, you are in the reactive zone, and every year you wait, the menu gets smaller and more expensive. Now, what if you cannot or do not want to sell at all? This is where most people get the tool choice wrong. Here's the situation: you need cash and you have 3 options. You can sell and downsize. You can open a HELOC or a home equity line of credit, or you can use a reverse mortgage. All 3 are often described as ways to unlock your equity, but only one of them will actually fit your situation. The common mistake, and most people make one of these 3 mistakes. Mistake number 1: selling when you do not have to. Transaction costs and rate shock can destroy the benefit, especially if your break even is 5 to 10 years and your health or plans are uncertain. Now, mistake number 2: taking out a HELOC you cannot comfortably afford. It feels like a safety net, but it still requires monthly payments and often has variable rates. If you cannot service the debt, you are right back in the foreclosure risk category. And mistake number 3: automatically ruling out a reverse mortgage because of the stigma, even when it might actually fit the problem you are trying to solve. The smarter tool: match the tool to your specific need. And here's the simplest way to think about it. Selling and downsizing tends to make sense if you are ready to relocate, if you need a lump sum, if you have significant equity, and your break-even timeline fits your expected lifespan. It becomes riskier if higher mortgage rates wipes out the savings. You cannot find a suitable next home, or the break-even point stretches beyond 10 years. A HELOC or home equity line of credit can make sense if you have unpredictable expenses like medical bills or major repairs, and you can comfortably afford the payments. It is a poor choice if the monthly payment would strain your budget or rising rates would put you under pressure. And then there is the reverse mortgage. This can make sense if you are cash poor but house rich. You plan to stay in the home long term and you want cash flow without required monthly mortgage payments. The trade-off is higher upfront costs and interest that compounds over time, steadily reducing your equity. It is usually the wrong tool if leaving the home itself to your heirs is your top priority, or if you expect to move in the near future. Here is a decision framework you can use. Write down your primary need. Do you need a lump sum, ongoing monthly cash flow, or an emergency buffer? Then match that tool to that need. Do not copy what a neighbor, a friend, or a relative did. What worked for them may be completely wrong for you. There are also other creative options like renting out a room, multi-generational living, or restructuring how you use the home to delay bigger changes. None of these are universal answers, but they remind you that you usually have more options than you think. And if you have time, check out the comment section of my last 2 videos. There are a ton of really helpful and some very creative solutions by other people going through the same thing you're going through. It's one of the reasons I love making these videos. Now, before we get into the Illinois example, there is one more piece most people overlook, and it applies almost everywhere. If you are overwhelmed by property taxes, utilities, or basic household bills, and you do not even know where the help exists, you can call 211. It is a free, confidential helpline that connects you to programs in your own county and state. It is designed for people who are struggling with costs, including seniors, in this type of situation. I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like using examples from Illinois. Now, if you are watching from another state, your job is to translate the process I show you into your own county assessor, treasurer, or senior services office. Here is the situation. You are an Illinois homeowner. You are 65 or older. your income is under $75,000, property taxes are eating into your budget, and the median bill in Illinois now runs roughly between $5,400 and $6,200 per year. It starts to feel like your only option to move. Here's a common mistake: not applying for the relief programs that already exist. Many people skip these programs because they do not know they even exist, assume their income is too high, or think the process will be complicated. So a lot of eligible homeowners never apply. The smarter move: apply for the programs designed specifically for your situation. Senior Freeze. This program prevents your home's assessed value from rising as long as you meet the age and the income requirements. Recent changes raised the income caps, so some homeowners who did not qualify before now do. Now, if you have not checked recently, check again. Then there's senior tax deferral. This allows you to defer up to $7,500 per year in property taxes at about 3% interest. It functions like a state-run low-interest lien designed for retirees on fixed incomes. You do not make monthly payments. The balance is repaid when you sell the home or when the estate is settled. Then there are other exemptions. Depending on your location, there may also be homestead, senior, disability, or even local rebate programs. So check both your county and your village websites. Here's why this matters. Research shows that for every $100 annual increase in property taxes, homeowners over the age of 50 become significantly more likely to move within 2 years. Higher taxes literally push homeowners out, and these programs are one of the main things that buy people more time and control. If you are in Illinois, homeowner over 65 with an income underneath $75,000 and you have not applied, you may be leaving thousands of dollars on the table every year. Go to your county's assessor's website this week, look up exemptions and the senior tax deferral, and apply if you feel it will benefit you. For some of you, this alone can buy several more years in your home without downsizing. Now, even if you do everything right, there's also one last trap that catches almost everyone: the rate lock-in problem. Here's the situation. You refinanced in 2020 or 2021 and locked in a 2.5% mortgage rate. You are 67 now and would like less maintenance. You still have roughly a $350,000 balance on your existing home, but the payment is comfortable and the house will be paid off over time. You're thinking about downsizing to a $350,000 condo with a 20% down payment. On the surface, that sounds smart. Instead of cash, you're going to get a mortgage on the new place in order to keep some money liquid. But mortgage rates today are sitting roughly in the 6 to 7% range. The common mistake: not factoring rate shock into your decision. Here's the math. You still have a $350,000 mortgage balance at a 2.5% on your home, which is roughly a $1,400 monthly payment. If you sell and buy a $350,000 condo, put 20% down, and finance the remaining $280,000 at about 6.5%, the new monthly payment is roughly $1,800. So even though you downsize the price of the home, your monthly payment still went up, not down. And on top of that, you just spent tens of thousands of dollars in transaction costs and gave up equity to get there. For a lot of people, that's not really downsizing, and it turns into a trap. The smarter move: there are 3 strategies depending on your situation. Strategy 1, stay and optimize. If you have a low rate mortgage, one option is to stay put and focus on paying it down. Then use every property tax relief and cost living program you qualify for to lower your carrying costs, instead of trading a 2.5% mortgage for one in the 6 to 7% range just to move. And number 2, sell, but do not re-leverage. If you sell, avoid taking on new mortgage at today's higher rates if you can. Buy the next place in cash if the equity allows, or rent for a year or 2 while you figure out where you want to land long term. That preserves capital and sidesteps rate shock entirely. And strategy 3, the hybrid move. Downsize early, between roughly 60 and 65, and rent something modest. You lower costs sooner, preserve more of your sale proceeds for later in life care, and avoid the rate lock-in problem because you're not taking on a new mortgage. A lot of people resist renting after a lifetime of home ownership. Feels like throwing your money away, but if renting costs less than owning and preserves your equity for flexibility or future care, it's not wasteful, it's strategic. One more thing that can sneak up on you is the capital gains clock. If you sell your home for more than you paid, that profit is a capital gain that you get taxed on. The good news is there is a built-in homeowner break. If you are single, you can usually exclude up to $250,000 in gains. If you are married, filing jointly, you can exclude up to $500,000. Now, to qualify, the home has to have been your primary residence for the last 2 out of the last 5 years before you sell. Anything above the $250,000 or $500,000 exclusion can still be taxed. And for a home that was bought 20 or 30 years ago, it's easier than you think to cross that line. There is an important nuance. If you have lost a spouse while you are married, you get that $500,000 exclusion. Now, after a spouse dies, you can often still use the full $500,000 if you sell within 2 years of their death and you met other requirements. After that, your exclusion usually drops back down to $250,000 because you're now filing as single. So before you put the house on the market, this is a 5-minute conversation to have with your CPA. And here's the question you ask. If I sell this year, how much of my gain is covered and what changes if I wait? All right, let me tie this together and give you a simple checklist you can walk through after this video so you are not trying to hold all this in your head. Here's the big picture. Downsizing is not an automatic win. Transaction costs usually mean you need a 5 to 10 year break-even timeline, and a rate lock can completely erase the benefit if you are trading a low mortgage rate for a much higher one. Selling, HELOCs, and reverse mortgages are just tools. None of them are good or bad on their own. The right choice and timing both depend on what problem you're actually trying to solve. Timing matters almost more than anything. Proactive moves in your early mid-60s give you options. Waiting until your 70s after a health event or a major repair usually means the decision gets made for you. And if you are in Illinois, property tax relief programs like senior freeze and senior tax deferrals are leaving thousands of dollars on the table every year for seniors who qualify but never apply. Now, if you are outside of Illinois, your job is to check your county and municipality for exemptions, freezes, or deferrals, and make sure your assessment is actually correct. Now, here's what I want you to do next. Run your break-even math. Take your estimated transaction costs and divide them by your estimated annual savings. Does that timeline realistically fit your health and lifespan? Now, if you are 60 to 65 and thinking, I'll downsize eventually, understand this is your window. If you're 70 years or older, you're already in that reactive zone, and your options narrow a little more each year. If the numbers in this video felt overwhelming, there's a free online calculator and a simple worksheet using the same formulas we talked about today. No email, no sign up, just click the link in the description and plug in your own numbers. Once you do that, drop one word in the comment, stay, downsize, or unsure. That helps guide me on what to cover next. You're not guessing anymore. You are deciding based on real numbers and real trade-offs. That is the difference between being trapped and being strategic. Now, let me know in the comments if you felt this was useful and if you would like to see more information like this. Be sure to engage with other comments. There are a ton of smart people out there that want to help. Now, if you do happen to be looking to sell or buy this year, reach out to me. Let's figure out if this even makes sense for you right now. And if it does, I can help you find the right person for your area. All my contact info is in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.